So you guys know I have been a very big critic of ICE and a lot of the things that they have been doing to our communities here in the United States. I mean, obviously, I wore my "fuck ICE" shirt for today's stream, and that's because of one of the topics we're going to talk about here today. So let's go ahead and let's just get right into it. It's already been quite some time since the tragic passing of Alex Pretty and Renee Good, which, by the way, we still to this day have not gotten justice for their deaths, which I think is appalling. There's no excuse for that whatsoever. There was even recently another death at the hands of ICE. I don't know the person's name. Maybe somebody in chat will know who I'm talking about. But there was somebody recently who also was killed by ICE, which is really unfortunate. But one of the things that happened as a result of the death of Alex Pretty and Renee Good was also obviously Greg Bovino, who was the guy who was in charge of Border Patrol. He lost his job. Actually, I find this tweet really funny. It says, Greg Bovino, if you call federal agents kidnappers or Gestapo, there will be consequences. 24 hours later, fired. What makes that particularly interesting is he gets really upset about being compared to the Nazis and the Gestapo, even though ICE engages in a lot of the same kind of behavior. But he's really upset about that. But this guy was literally in the streets walking around with a trench coat that literally made him look like a fucking Nazi. Lorenzo Salgado Araujo, that's the person. That was another person who just died at the hands of ICE. But this guy is so bent out of shape of being compared to the Nazis. Meanwhile, he's literally walking in the streets in a uniform that looks like a Nazi officer, like an SS officer uniform. Like, what the fuck is wrong with you, dude? But why are we talking about Gregory Bovino? I mean, the guy's already been fired. He's already been demoted from his position, right? So why are we talking about him now? This happened back in, what was it, January? Why are we talking about him now? Well, let's get into that in a second here, chat. But before we do, one thing that was really noteworthy is before he was removed from his position, Gregory Bovino told the New York Times that before he was fired, he had a plan to deport 100 million people. He had risen from relative obscurity, but Mr. Bovino was built for the moment. He had long harbored hardline, even radical views on immigration, and said he had planned to deport over 100 million people. What I find interesting about that is I decided to look up we'll never know the exact numbers, but what are the estimates of undocumented people within this country? And according to the MPI, there's apparently just under 14 million people that we're aware of who are undocumented. So why in the world would your goal be to deport over 100 million people if there's less than 14 million people in this country who are undocumented? It doesn't really make sense. That the math doesn't math. But in any case, yeah, exactly. As Mo Moon in the chat says, it's also dissidents. They won't admit that. They can't publicly say that because that would sound really fucking bad. But I'm pretty sure that that's the idea. Not only that, but there are immigrants who are here legally that I'm sure they'd like to get rid of as well. Because let's be honest, like a lot of this, staunch position on like immigration comes from a place of racism and bigotry. Like they won't admit that, but that's what it is. So there's certainly a bunch of minority groups that they would probably like to get rid of that they can't publicly admit that, like, oh yeah, we want to get rid of those people too. But I was kind of getting ahead of myself earlier. Why are we talking about Gregory Bovino now? Well, this tweet went out on his profile like a couple days ago. What's the date today? Today's the 12th. So it was actually a few days ago, July 9th. He tweeted the following on his Twitter account. The machine is designed to fail. I saw it as Border Patrol commander at large. From ignored directives, donors blocking enforcement, real hidden numbers. Now on August 1st in Fishers, Indiana. That's what Indiana is like. IN is Indiana, right? I'm speaking unfiltered at the first mass deportation rally in U.S. history with Lieutenant Governor Mika Beckwith. I hope I pronounced that correctly. Dinner, drinks, serious patriots only. Invitation only in limited capacity. This is the moment to turn talk into pressure. Request your spot at heritageallies.com. So this guy is still coping. This guy is still coping about the fact that he lost his job because people were literally being like murdered in cold blood in the streets under his leadership, right? Murdered in cold blood in the streets, and no justice being served for those acts of violence. But what is this about? What is this whole heritage thing about? Let's go ahead and let's take a look. Greg Bovino, former U.S. Border Control Commander at Large, Saturday, August 1st, 2026. A rally to energize the base and help us save our nation. $50 general admission, dinner, 2 drinks, and networking with fellow patriots who care. By invitation only. Request yours now. So you can request your invitation. Save Heritage Indiana, a proud member of the Mass Deportation Coalition, presented by Gregory Bovino, the man who led the front line. For 29 years, Gregory Bovino served on the front line of the American border enforcement, not from a briefing room in Washington, but in the field, where policy meets reality and rhetoric collides with consequences. As Commander-at-Large of the U.S. Border Patrol, he held one of the most consequential roles in the Department of Homeland Security, the authority to coordinate operations across sectors, the duty to speak truth to leadership. I'm sorry. Truth to leadership? You literally lied to the American people about what happened to Renee Good. You literally lied in the face of video evidence to the American people about what happened to Alex Pretty. The duty to speak truth to leadership? That's fucking bullshit. And anybody who looks at those videos and has the slightest bit of honesty in terms of what happened, what they observed in those videos, knows that that's bullshit. And the access to information the American public is never permitted to see. You know, like the way you tried to like convince us that what we saw with our own eyes in those videos wasn't true. He watched the machinery of enforcement from inside. He knows the true number of illegal aliens in the country is closer to 100 million. We saw the numbers, chat. We saw the numbers. 14 million. Okay? Less than 14 million. But according to him, it's 100 million, chat. 100 million undocumented. Not the official fiction. He witnessed directives issued, then ignored. He saw leaders promise action while the system was built to fail. What he saw changed him. What he is prepared to say will change how you understand the fight. No, what he's doing right now is coping and seething.
You are coping and seething.
He's coping and seething because he lost his fucking job. Because he created a PR disaster for the Trump administration. An administration that already does a pretty good job of, you know, basically creating bad PR for themselves. And he made it like 100 times worse. Do you think those hundreds of millions of illegal aliens care that your ancestors gave everything for this country? That your grandfather fought in Iwo Jima or great-great-grandfather died at Gettysburg? They don't care about your history, customs, values, beliefs. To me, that is a greater threat to our society than a violent criminal or a terrorist. When this guy says this dumb shit, does he realize what country he's talking about? We're talking about the fucking melting pot, okay? We're talking about the United States of fucking America, where our immigrants in this country are our strength. The diversity of cultures that we have within our country, right? And he's talking about these people as if they're a threat to our nation. They are the very building blocks of this nation, right? It's insanity. Why the establishment wants him silenced. What Commander Bovino is prepared to disclose is not speculation. It is testimony from a career spent inside the apparatus, and it implicates people who would prefer him to remain quiet. He saw firsthand what the machine is designed to fail. Powerful donors in the Trump orbit actively blocked real mass deportations. The voices inside DHS who want to enforce the law are being purged. He retired rather than participate in the theater. This is just cope. This is pure cope. Video remarks. Indiana Lieutenant Governor Mika Beckwith. The rally will include video remarks from Lieutenant Governor Mika. So this guy couldn't even be there. himself. He's just sending in a video. That's pathetic. $500 for the VIP experience? The night before, Friday, July 31st, 2026, $500. The evening before the rally, a select group of patriots will gather for a private fine dining experience in Carmel, a multi-course meal, and an off-the-record strategy session with Commander Bovino. No press, no... This is just a grift! This is just a grift! Give us $500 for this, like, fancy, like, dinner, and, like, this is literally just a grift. This is a conversation among serious people, donors, organizers, and citizens who understand that the work ahead requires more than applause. VIP experiences are limited to preserve the integrity of the exchange. It's literally just a grift. Well, he lost his job, so now he needs to set up a scam to make a living, pretty much. Holy shit. $50 general admission for the rally. This is nuts. You can request your invitation to attend this event. I wonder if somebody, like one of those creators who does these like sort of like insider hidden video things, is going to show up to these things. You know, like Dead Domain does. She'll sometimes sneak into like conservative conventions and stuff like that to kind of like cover what happens on the inside. I would love to see one of these creators like request an invitation to this and attend this thing to see like what the fuck is going on. Yeah, this is just a grift. It's a grift and it's cope. You got fired because you did a bad job and you made this country look like shit, which, I mean, isn't that difficult to do considering Donald Trump is our president right now. But like, yeah, this is just cope. You got fired and now you're just mad. He's big mad. He's big salty, chat, because he lost his job because his people that he was, you know, overseeing killed like innocent people and terrorized our communities. And we said enough is enough. We didn't want that shit. The American people did not want this shit in our communities. And he's mad because he didn't get to be the fucking fascist that he wanted to be. That's what this is all about. It's literally just a cope session and a grift. Period. That's what this is. Off the record, translation, we're going to say some truly horrendous and racist shit and nobody will be able to prove it. Literally. 100%, that's what that is. That's what that is. Absolutely.